Hi, this is Vincent from SolarSelf Consulting, and today I will give you the second thing to monitor to avoid spiritual manipulation from other people. So the second thing to monitor is to not get high on spirituality. Don't get high on spirituality. So let's start to talk about a hangover, like a alcohol-induced hangover. You're at a bar and somebody start to pay you drinks after drinks, and suddenly you're drunk, and what happens is that you enter an altered state of consciousness. The problem with that state of consciousness is that it's not through an integrative process that you get there. There is no transformation, it's really induced. It's kind of pushed into you, it's kind of forced into you. And when it's not through an integrative process, it becomes a separative process, because this state of consciousness is so disconnected from all the other parts of yourself, like your inner child, your wiser mind, your ideal self, all these parts that maybe cannot come entirely into a harmony together, but at least they can be aware of what's going on. You can address the issues they have with what you're about to do one by one and all together. So this doesn't do that. It really separates all your parts. Just take this alternate state of consciousness that is gonna do stuff, but in the morning when the alcohol effects wear off, all the other parts of yourself that was separated from the experience, from the awareness, are going to catch up on what happened. And this is how you start to have more guilt and more shame, maybe due to what you did the night before or whatever happened, if you can even remember what happened or realize what state you were in when it happened. So more guilt and shame, so more toxicity in your life. Well, with spiritual practices, it can happen as well. And I see two ways it can happen with. It can be verbally, or it can be more by a physical, energetical contact or influence. By language, somebody could try to get you high by calling onto values that, once again, more or less consciously brings you to a place of guilt or shame. For example, if you are showing that you are not sure about what to do next with that person, and maybe you need some time, you need some things sounds a bit off, but you're not very certain about yourself, and it happens to doubt ourselves and second guess ourselves, then a manipulative person could go into a territory that says, oh, you should be more into your unconditional love, you should be into more of your higher awareness and whatever. More or less consciously is gonna trigger you into thinking, oh yeah, he's right, I should, because in spirituality we're supposed to be into unconditional love, we are supposed to be into more welcoming attitude, into non-judgmental attitude, and so on. But there are two problems with thinking this way. The first is that you may feel, once again, rush into being into a state of consciousness that all your aspects are not really ready for, that still need some healing or transformation, or actually these other parts of yourself might be right into thinking, you know what, that person in front of us, I don't really feel it. So the day I really feel it and it's really flowing and it's nice, yeah, I will give the green light. Every aspect of myself is gonna give the green light and we can go. So it's a very integrative and a wholeness experience. But if you go into that place where it's kind of rushed and unconsciously triggered by some guilt or shame, then you enter again a very separated, altered state of consciousness that in a way you're not ready for. So if you start to take decisions under this altered state of consciousness, it's exactly like you get yourself hangover. It's exactly like you get yourself higher than something you prepared for. So if you propel yourself into this altered state of consciousness to be more into unconditional love, or what you imagine unconditional love is, that it comes from a place of suppressing and repressing all the other aspects of yourself which might not be ready for that, then you are not respecting yourself. You're not respecting where you're at. You're not respecting maybe the transformation you need to go through to eventually get there. And once again, that is considering that the other aspects of yourself were not right by saying, hey, you know what, I don't feel that person right now. I don't want that right now. The second little thing about unconditional love, it's very specific to unconditional love, is that you have to understand that unconditional love is the unconditional part of you seeing the unconditional part of the other person. In other words, it's really your higher self, your soul, that is looking at the other person's soul. But this recognition from soul to soul doesn't have to translate into something physical, because our physical being or ego, and this is not a derogatory term when I talk about the ego, it's just our materiality and our relative but still felt individuality, it's our physicality, then this is very conditional. It's very much submitted to how much good habits we keep or bad habits, the decisions we make, what we eat, how we sleep. All these little things are very much conditional. So do not think that the unconditional love that is soul to soul should automatically be translated into a physical love, even less a sexual intercourse, just for the sake of unconditional love. This is not how it works. So basically, for this first part, remember not to get high on spiritual language, and do not try to get into state of consciousness that you believe you should have out of guilt or shame. It's more or less unconscious. Spirituality is something that you need to experience in your wholeness, not something that's trying to separate different aspects of yourself just to get you high momentarily. The second part, after talking about language, is the way that's more physical to induce something into you, such as energy work, a massage, or any spiritual practice that is really more addressed to your physical layer. And chances are you're gonna feel very good about it and you're gonna be more relaxed and everything. If so, do not get carried away by this state you're in to try to link it to further interaction with the person. Maybe take time to integrate it, to see what's left with you over time. I would avoid acting too impulsively under the influence of that energetic feeling or just that feel good in the moment feeling. To summarize this second point about avoiding spiritual manipulation, beware of altered state of consciousness that are too much disconnected from all the other parts of yourself. Try to have your state of consciousness and your decisions as integrative as possible of your wholeness, of all the parts of yourself, and not coming from a separation, a suppression, a repression of the different parts of yourself. Thank you very much. Click like and subscribe if you find something useful into that video. Don't hesitate to share if you know people who could benefit from it. I will see you next time for the third and last part about avoiding spiritual manipulation. As usual, I wish you all the best with much loving light. Remember to love who you are and welcome who you become. See you next time.